Good day, hello. Today we're here with Bill Howe, the president and owner of Apex Instruments. And Bill, you've been kind, and thank you for inviting us into your very nice facility. You were kind enough to sit with us back in July of 2011. And for those people that didn't read that profile, could you maybe give us a brief history of what does Apex Instruments do?
Okay. Well, I founded the company in 1988, so a little over 26 years ago, and we manufacture source sampling equipment for primarily for measuring particulate emissions from smokestacks such as power plants, cement plants, pretty much any source that you see out there that has a smokestack, somebody has done testing on it. It could just be flow measurements, or some type of gas sampling for VOCs, variety of different things. We started out in the wood stove industry. Mm-hmm. I was working as a contractor at EPA at the time doing wood stove testing, doing catalyst longevity studies, and I spent about 5 years in the wood stove industry, having to do stack testing to pay the bills, and we started working on developing equipment. That was my real interest, a real goal was to develop an equipment business, but took a while to build up the capital to do it. So I just had to do whatever it would take to pay the bills there for just to survive. So
I guess that's a good area to get into. And I guess small business owners, financing is typically always a challenge. So I guess you bootstrapped the business.
Definitely, I worked out of my. I had an office on my screen porch, and I had a little shed in the backyard, and it was extremely hot, so it was, didn't do much work there, that shed. And then we ended up renting a space in Apex, an old Quonset hut, which wasn't much better than the shed, but it was a bit bigger, but no air conditioning. It would get up to about 120 degrees there in the summertime. And then we were trying to burn wood stoves in there at the same time.
Oh boy!
So it was pretty terrible conditions. And it was hard to hire people because, they just come up there and see the facility and they would turn around and leave. And I usually always like to tell a story of one of our first big customers was TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. Sure. And they used to do stack testing, gotten out of the stack testing business, and were getting back into it. And they'd heard about us, so they were coming to the area and wanted to stop by and see us. And I've been sitting in my office waiting for a while for them to show up, and they were running late, and they pulled into the parking lot, and I think they just looked at the building, backed up, and started going down the road. So I ran out of the front of the building, chasing down the road, beat on the car to let them know they were at the right place. Okay. So, but they came back in, and we had I think a $70,000 PO from them within probably about a week. Wow! So I think that was that may have been first or second big order. That may have been the second big order that we'd gotten at that time. And TVA since then has been one of our best customers year after year.
Wow.
So
that's a great story.
This year the sales are down a little bit just because of the government budget issues, but hopefully we'll see some more orders from them soon.
Okay. We hear a lot about regulations, government regulating industry and someone handcuffing growth and things like that, but in researching your business a bit, I see that the Clean Air Act of 1990 was a big boost to your business and a driver for what you do.
We're very dependent upon regulations. Most of the stack testing is done for compliance purposes, so they can demonstrate that they are in compliance. There is a lot of testing done for engineering purposes, so they can design the equipment so they can be compliant. So really it's all primarily driven due to regulations.
So is virtually any smokestack we see on the horizon, is that a potential customer or whoever's I guess you don't do the actual testing, you're more servicing or selling equipment to companies?
I usually always say 300. There's roughly maybe 300 stack testing firms out there, and they just some of them just maybe a team of 2 people. Other companies are 200, 250 people, and they're just pretty much road warriors, and they go from stack to stack testing. Okay. So that's our primary market. That's probably, domestically, that's well over 50% of our domestic customers are those stack testing firms. So could be engineering firms that have a stack testing team. Could be a laboratory that has a stack testing team, or a company that's purely just does stack testing.
And assuming the other 50% is probably direct to utilities and like the authorities, like the TVA.
Yeah, we sell a lot to international. So some years 70% of our sales have been international. So we sell through distributors internationally, and a lot of those sales will go to government agencies or to utilities, or once again cement. So some of the biggest polluters are the coal-fired power plants and the cement industry. Cement's a lot bigger in a lot of countries than it is here in the States.
You hear a lot about the, I guess, clean coal, being, I guess, a savior for the coal industry. Is, I guess, how clean is clean coal, or is that still got to be tested, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of testing, a lot of work in making it clean. So, but they've come a long way. So, I was thinking, we've got some photographs around here, some old dirty coal-fired, and they're nowhere close to what the U.S. emission standards are, and it's very extremely strict to meet the new source performance standards if you were to build a modern day coal-fired plant. And right now with the new regulations, they've got new MATS, mercury air toxic standards, and so they've got new stricter standards they have to meet. So they're shutting down a lot of the old, dirtier, less efficient coal-fired plants and putting in more modern new ones. So.
When did you first venture into the international market? Does that go way back, or was it 90s?
Yeah, probably. Well, we sold. I think our first international sale was through a clean coal project that the U.S. government was sponsoring. I think that was probably to Poland. I went to Russia, I think, in '94 on a USAID program, clean coal project. So I think we sold that equipment actually and started in '93. So that was over maybe like a 3-year period. We were selling equipment for clean coal programs that the U.S. government was sponsoring. But and I think really after that, that's when I somewhat saw, we were quoting internationally, not selling very much. And it wasn't until it really started traveling overseas that we actually started making sales. And really the sales almost came immediately. Everybody would always tell me how it's such a long sales cycle trying to sell internationally, but typically I'd go over there and didn't come back with POs, but within a number of weeks after I'd get back, I'd normally start receiving POs. And I started hitting these same countries 2, 3, 4 times a year because it seemed like I was coming back with getting POs shortly after each trip.
And then, when do you now primarily sell through to reps or distributors internationally? Or?
Internationally, it's primarily through distributors. We sell direct to a lot of the end users. And we're somewhat debating right now what to do with some of these markets. If it's an English-speaking country, it's so easy to sell to them. We don't have the language barriers. But in most of the countries, we still use distributors.
So last time, we didn't sit down, but last time you sat down with the Small Business Insights, it was in July of 2011. What new things have happened? What's happened with Apex Instruments?
It's hard for me to sort of keep track of time sometimes. I just take it one day at a time. But we've been waiting for new regulations to actually come out. Trying to think of the time frame with the new standards. We call it MAC standards, maximum achievable control technology. So if it's a hazardous air pollutant, it normally has to meet some type of MAC standard. So for the mercury or for the electric utilities, the regulations were thrown out in they were called vacated in can't remember if it was 2007 or 2008, and they finally were reenacted. So they've basically got 3 to 4 years to come in compliance after that. So a lot of that time, it seems like we've been waiting for these regulations. So we're continuing to work on the products, you know, tweaking software and stuff, and just waiting. So they've got 1 more year to become compliant. So we're expecting a big year this year for Mercury.
So I guess it's, you know, your contacts or your significant contacts with the EPA, and it behooves you, I guess, to know what's coming down the pipe and to have the equipment ready for when, I guess, the regulations do go into effect.
Yeah, but it's hard to wait for the EPA because, you know, the things that are like the Clean Air Act of 1990 is driving our business right now. That's what's really starting to kick in. So these mercury requirements were from the Clean Air Act of 1990, and they go into effect next year.
So there's, I guess, it's been
So it's,
that kind of, the various requirements been put in gradually over time, and
well, they do like one industry at a time. So it's taken them a long time to actually come out with these regulations. So
24 years.
Yeah. So, yeah. So you can go broke waiting around, for EPA. So.
Bill, in looking at your website and talking to you a little bit, I can tell you're someone that cares deeply about your customers, and you talk a lot about, you know, customer service, and you know, a lot of small businesses, you know, customer is king, and we all talk about it, but it's another thing to get the word out and have the organization and all the teammates buy into the vision and the ideals. I mean, how do you, here at Apex Instruments, how do you try to instill that into your employees and team members?
We've never had a choice, really. I mean, to survive, we had to be customer service oriented. Our customers are typically out there in the field. You know, they get to a site ready to test, and they find out that they're lacking equipment. So we ship a lot of orders overnight. We ship a lot of them directly to the site. So most of the orders probably ship within 24 hours. That's been somewhat of a goal for us. Is to, one reason was just cash flow at the very beginning. You know, we needed
you get an order, and it's we're going to ship it.
Right. But you know, the customers became very dependent upon that, and that's how we grew so fast. Was do the customer service, and then, you know, internationally, the international customers loved it too. You know, they were accustomed to having to wait, you know, 6, 8, 12 weeks. You know, we never even thought about that. You know, if we get the order, we want to ship it as soon as possible.
I guess that speaks to inventory management issues, and you keep, you know, I guess you showed me some of your core products on the shelf, or, you know, components, or
we stock very heavily, so we're addressing now inventory issues right now, trying to reduce our inventory, but we have long lead times on a lot of the parts. And our customers, they can't wait 6 weeks, and you know, to do these tests, you know, company may charge, you know, $5,000, $10,000, you know, to do the test, but it may cost the plant, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that test. So, you know, they need that equipment quick when they're out in the field if they're down.
But for you, that's obviously an issue for, you know, inventory management, logistics, and, you know, keeping track of lead times on critical components, and also, I guess, cash flow. And your vendors, I'm sure, want to get paid in a reasonable amount of time, and
it's hard to balance it all. So we're in the process of putting in a new, you know, ERP accounting system right now.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, so we're eager to get that up and running and switch over to it. So.
In the papers recently, and there's been a lot about pollution in China and recently India. And wondering if that's opportunities for you. Are they adopting the U.S. standards?
They've, you know, for certain methods they'll adopt, you know, U.S. standards, or our methods just adopt the U.S. EPA sampling method. So those are the countries that we target. countries that have adopted U.S. EPA methods. China's been, a huge market for us the last few years, and especially they came out with their new 5-year plan, which is addressing hazardous air pollutants. So we've been selling quite a bit of mercury sampling equipment to China. And I just went to, December I went to informational exchange at EPA. And I haven't been back to, it's been a couple of years since I've been to China, but I was really surprised. Instead of trying to put new control equipment on these power plants, they're just tearing down the old dirty power plants and building super efficient new plants. So when they decide to do something, they do it, So.
And even in super efficient new plants, it sounds like there'll likely be a continuing role or need for Apex Instrument products?
We hope so.
We hope so too.
Yeah, it's a big market over there. So.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you.